You've got the keys, you're ready to drive. But pause for a moment. Do you really understand what your insurance covers, and more importantly, do you know your rights as a consumer? Too often, people think insurance is just a monthly bill, something you pay because the law requires it. But insurance is far more than that. It's your shield against financial disaster, and consumer rights are the rules that make sure you're not left vulnerable when you need protection the most. Today, we're going to break down insurance and consumer rights in a way that's simple, practical, and powerful, so you can walk away not just informed, but confident. Imagine this scenario: you're driving home from work, and suddenly another car runs a red light and crashes into you. It's not your fault, but the other driver only carries minimum coverage. Their insurance pays a fraction of the damages, and suddenly you're left with thousands in medical bills and repair costs. If you don't know your rights, you might accept the shortfall thinking there's no other option. But if you understand uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage, and if you know the consumer protections in your state, you can demand fair compensation. That's the difference between being a passive policyholder and being an empowered consumer. Insurance companies thrive on complexity. They use jargon like aggregate limits, deductibles, bodily injury per person, and per accident maximums. To the average driver, it sounds confusing. But here's the contrast. While they want you overwhelmed, your rights are designed to keep things transparent. You have the right to clear explanations of your policy. You have the right to fair claims handling. You have the right to appeal a denial. And you have the right to shop around without being penalized. These aren't favors. They're protections you should use. Let's break down the 3 pillars of insurance coverage, but with a focus on your rights. First, coverage for others. This is your liability coverage: bodily injury and property damage. If you injure someone or damage their property, your insurance pays. But here's the rights angle: you deserve to know exactly how much protection you're buying. If your agent sells you a 10/20 policy in Florida that's $10,000 per person and $20,000 per accident, sounds fine until you realize a single hospital visit can exceed $20,000. If you weren't told that clearly, that's a violation of your right to informed consent. Transparency is not optional, it's your right. Second, coverage for you and your passengers. This includes medical payments, uninsured motorist, and underinsured motorist coverage. If another driver hits you and doesn't have enough coverage, your policy should step in. But if your insurer delays, denies, or lowballs your claim, you have the right to challenge them. You can file a complaint with your state insurance department. You can demand an independent review. You can even take legal action. Too many consumers don't realize they're not powerless in these situations. Third, coverage for your vehicle. Comprehensive and collision protect your car against accidents, theft, vandalism, and even acts of nature. But here's the contrast framing. While insurers emphasize deductibles as a way to lower your premium, your rights ensure that deductibles are applied fairly. If your policy says $500, they can't suddenly demand $1,000. If your car is totaled, you have the right to a fair market valuation, not a lowball offer. And if you disagree with their valuation, you can request arbitration or appraisal. So far, we've talked about coverages and rights in theory. Let's make it practical. How do you as a consumer actually use these rights? Step 1. Read your policy. Not skim it, read it. Step 2. Ask questions. If your agent can't explain a coverage in plain language, that's a red flag. Step 3. Document everything. If you file a claim, keep records of every phone call, every email, every letter. Documentation is your weapon if you need to escalate. Insurance companies know most consumers won't fight back. They know confusion leads to compliance. That's why they design policies with layers of complexity. But here's your power move. Contrast their complexity with your simplicity. Ask direct questions. Demand direct answers. Use your rights to cut through the fog. For example, if your claim is denied, don't just accept it. Ask for the denial in writing. Ask for the specific policy language they're relying on. Then compare it to your actual policy. If it doesn't match, you've caught them. Now let's talk about state differences. Insurance is regulated at the state level, which means your rights vary depending on where you live. In Michigan, personal injury protection can be unlimited. In Florida, minimums are notoriously low. In New York, you have strong consumer protections against unfair claims practices. The contrast here is clear. While insurers operate nationally, your rights are local. That means you need to know your state's rules, not just the general concepts. Let's wrap this first section with a powerful reminder. Insurance is not just about paying premiums. It's about protecting your assets, your income, your family, and your future. Consumer rights are not just legal jargon. They're your shield against unfair practices. When you combine knowledge of coverage with knowledge of rights, you become untouchable. You stop being a passive customer and start being an empowered consumer. When we talk about insurance, it's easy to focus only on the numbers, premiums, deductibles, coverage limits, but the deeper story is about how those numbers translate into real-life consequences. Insurance is not just a financial product, it's a promise. And consumer rights are what make sure that promise is kept. Without rights, insurance would simply be a gamble. With rights, it becomes a safeguard. Think about the moment after an accident. You're shaken, maybe injured, and your car is damaged. This is when your insurance should step in. But too often, companies delay, deny, or minimize claims. That's where consumer rights become critical. You have the right to timely claims processing. You have the right to a clear explanation if your claim is denied. You have the right to challenge unfair practices. These rights are not optional. They are the foundation of trust between you and your insurer. Let's contrast two situations. In the first, a driver accepts whatever the insurance company offers, even if it's far below the actual cost of repairs. They don't question it, they don't push back, and they end up paying out of pocket. In the second, a driver knows their rights. They demand a fair market valuation, they request documentation, and they escalate if necessary. The result? A settlement that actually covers their loss. The difference between these two outcomes isn't luck, it's knowledge. Smooth transition here. Rights don't just protect you in claims, they also protect you when buying insurance. For example, you have the right to shop around without being penalized. Some companies may try to scare you into staying by suggesting your rates will skyrocket if you switch. That's misleading. Your right to choose is protected, and competition is what keeps the market fair. Another important right is privacy. When you apply for insurance, you share sensitive information. Your driving history, your financial details, sometimes even your health records. Consumer rights ensure that this information is protected and not misused. If a company violates that trust, you have the right to report them and seek accountability. Now let's talk about deductibles. Insurers often frame deductibles as a way to lower your premium. But here's the contrast. While deductibles can save you money up front, they also increase your out-of-pocket costs later. Your right here is clarity. The company must explain exactly how deductibles work, and they cannot change the terms after you've signed. If your policy says $500, that's the number. Anything else is a violation. State laws add another layer of protection. In some states, regulators require insurers to handle claims within a specific time frame. In others, there are strict rules about how valuations are calculated. Knowing your state's rules gives you leverage. It means you can hold your insurer accountable not just morally but legally. If you found this video helpful and it gave you clarity about insurance and your consumer rights, then don't let the knowledge stop here. Hit that like button to show your support, share this video with friends or family who need to understand their rights, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you never miss future content that could save you money, protect your assets, and give you the confidence to stand up for yourself.